Welcome to Deeply Rooted Online, where women encourage women by sharing scripture and stories of God at work.
Today on Deeply Rooted, we're welcoming Marcy Hill. And we're welcoming her here at the Door Youth Ministry Center on Brunel Road in Huntsville. So Marcy, at the last baptism at Harvest, we just heard some awesome stories about what's going on here. So I'm really excited to have Marcy share with us, and we're just so thankful you're here with us.
Thank you. I'm glad that you asked me.
Oh, we're loving it. We're loving it. So Marcy, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe your position here, and then a little bit about your faith journey?
Yeah, for sure. So as far as what I do here, it's interesting because I have a title that's ministry director, but I'm also community director, and I'm also campus life.
So Marcy, can you tell us how you first came to know Christ?
Yeah. It's funny because I think as long as I can remember, I've just believed. And I've had that question asked so many times by kids. I was blessed to have a lot of older sisters. So I had 3 sisters. One's 10 years older, one's 14, and one's 16. So they took me to church. I used to go to Pioneer Girls as a little girl. And my sister said that I would be in doctor's offices, and I was like 5, and I'd put my hands on the knees of the people there and go, Jesus in your heart. And I laughed to myself because I think, he's been preparing me for what I'm doing for a really long time.
See, I want to ask you about Youth Unlimited.
Okay.
What is Youth Unlimited, and how did you get involved with the ministry here at the Door?
Oh man, yeah.
It's a big question.
Yes. So there's chapters globally all over the world. And ours is called Highlands. I knew people that worked here. I was the youth leader at Muskoka Community Church. So they offered us to use this space. So it kind of organically happened. I came, James at the time, who was the director, was encouraging me to come and help out. It became evident to me that my calling is the unchurched youth. And it was like God just kind of slammed me with it. I'm a relationship builder. I always say I'm a fisher of men. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a preacher. I get really excited when we can connect with people who really are. I do certain things with them, teachings, but not in the way that a pastor does, right? Not in the way that someone who's gifted that way, but I love to build those strings and those relationships. And here at the Door, we're the paramedics. Like, they come in, they have no idea who Jesus is. To have them come in and introduce them to nothing more than the love of Jesus. Just to understand, that's our job. We feed them, we love them, we make sure that they're seen and that they're heard, and that they belong. And kids, that's all they want. Like, the worst punishment you can give somebody in the entire prison system is solitary confinement, because we are created for relationship.
100%.
God made us that way. So when people say, oh, there's so many drugs out there right now, the kids are involved in this, they're involved in that, I'm like, no, they're alone. Like, when you see the kids go off, they're like, they're joining different groups and hanging out with people, and they're getting into mischief because that's their tribe. Here at the Door, we try to make sure that the kids know, no matter what your race, religion, sexual identity, doesn't matter. You belong here, right? Because, Jesus didn't say, get better and come to me, right?
Amen.
He's like,
to that.
yeah, you come in and come as you are. And they do. And they walk through these doors swearing, and some of them are a little stoned. And sometimes I feel like I'm babysitting a herd of kids. But at the end of the day, it's amazing to watch what God does when you allow him to do what he does. Until we build that bridge and make Christianity not look scary, not what you believe you think you see, they're not going to come. And they will not come somewhere they don't feel welcome. Well, Jesse and Marshall came in, and they loved on them and fed them and acted normal and fun and invited them Wednesday nights to Harvest and built that bridge, right? And my kids are like, well, if you trust them, we trust them. And of course, Marshall's amazing, and Jesse with those kids. So they were able to build that relationship, and it connected them. From that, Marshall was also really good friends with one of the fellows who used to work for us at YFC, Mike Gordon. And they were going to do an event out at his camp. And so Marshall said, our kids are coming. Do you want to do an invite with whatever kids you want? And I was like, sure. So gathered together those kids, and they've been going to Harvest, and they came and they listened to Mike Gordon speak, and he's down to earth and he's real, and he, and they sat through worship, and they were like, wow, like this is like a new feeling for what these Christian people are. And then right after that, the Change Conference popped up, and it was like, I'm like, who wants to come? And like 18 kids put their hand up, and I was like, what? And I was like, so I kept saying, it's faith-based. Like, I just want you all to know it's faith-based. and because they saw the concerts, right? Like there's music, and they get there. And I cannot describe to you what it's like when you see a sea of 2,000 children with their arms in the air praising Jesus. And these kids were lit up, and they'd be like, come to the front, come to the altar, we're gonna, and my guys would be down there, and they're bouncing to worship music, and they're singing the words, and they're gathering with all of these people who are saying me too, and connecting with them and being like, you are us, like we're family. And they really felt that, and they had all these people come out and connect with them and talk to them about Jesus. Different than me, right? It's different than Mike Gordon, different than Marshall. It's another new group of people, and not just one or two, but they're watching an entire flood of people. And speakers that were amazing rap artists, and and they're talking about their story and sharing with them what Jesus did and their testimonies, right? Which is so powerful. And I watched them peel back those layers of doubt and peel back their apprehensions. And at the very last day, so the second day, they did a call. They said they had some great speakers, great testimonies, and they said, is there anybody in the audience who would like to pray with us and ask Jesus in your heart? And 18 of my children put their hands up.
Marcy, that's amazing.
It was like,
That's amazing.
I was like overwhelmed. And 14 of the 18. I'm looking at the hands go up, and I'm crying. And then the very last night, they did a share for if there's anybody who they listed a lot of things, right? Like attempted suicide or wanted to die or is filled with shame, things that you can't let go. Come to the altar and leave it at the altar. And I watched, about 5 of my girls go to the front and just
wonderful.
bawl at the altar. And I just sat there in tears, like fully weeping. And at the end, one of my girls, they were movie theater chairs.
Right.
She's jumping over the movie theater chairs to jump on me. I almost fell over. And she was up there. And the funny part is to connect with what you're saying. She is one of the stories. I think if you follow Kai on social media, he shared about where Marshall was here one day, and one of my girls came up to him and said, I didn't even get stoned. Just so you know, I'm getting stoned right now, like today, so that I'm not stoned for youth, because I want to be really straight tonight. And I was like, small miracles. But that was the girl who leaped up into my arms,
wonderful.
and who accepted Christ, and who's now showing me and sharing with me where God's showing up in her life. And they came back, and I had kids on TikTok. I have kids that are posting like nonstop. And on TikTok, and some of the other kids are like, she doesn't even say F-U-C-K anymore. And you hear her TikToks, all she does is talk about Jesus in her TikToks, and it's powerful, right? It's really powerful.
So hearing all of this, I'm wondering, is there ways that our listeners can support the door and help even with the facility here?
Yes, so volunteering is one really great way to help out. We have so many different positions. Also, in order to keep me here doing what I'm doing, I have ministry partners. So I have people who donate $5 a month. I have people who donate $1,500 a month. But the cool part is that you are now ministering to these youth. Your money is making it possible for us to keep the doors open. And there's also our community fund, which allows for us to do things like the Change Conference and Today's Teens, which I'm taking all my leaders to. And all of that happens because of the community fund that people donate to. And now we're doing renos. So I did mention to you though that I was going to bring up a Bible verse.
Yes,
and
I'd love to hear that.
I didn't say it, and it's funny because years ago, I had in Pioneer Girls, they gave us these old framed Bible verses, right, in glass. I took my Bible verse, I picked this one as a little girl. I think I was probably 7 or something. I wasn't very old, but this is the one I picked. You know, it got stored away when I moved out of the house. We was taking a bunch of stuff and I pulled it from the back. I was like, oh yeah, shoved it in my stuff, took it with me. The glass cracked, moved into my house in South Portage, still had it. In all the boxes I pull out, I just keep going, oh, I can't get rid of this. And it wasn't until I was sitting in the regeneration in our NMC, which is our national conference, and they brought this up. And as they read it, I was like, that is so powerful. I keep forgetting. And then I'm like, why is that resonating so strong in me? And I remembered, and I went home, and it was Psalm 71, 17 and 18. Since my youth, God, you have taught me, and to this day I declare your marvelous deeds. Even when I am old and gray, do not forsake me, my God, till I deliver your power to the next generation, your mighty acts to all who are to come.
That is a powerful verse.
Right? And the fact that I could never let it go, because it molded my path. It was the reason, right, for everything.
Well, Marcy, one thing you didn't tell us, if someone wants to volunteer or donate, how do they do that?
Oh, at yfch.ca, that's Youth for Christ Highlands, yfch.ca. And our website is yfc.ca/Highlands/Huntsville. There's also options on that as well. You also can go onto that website, and there's like a plethora of information about what we do, because I haven't really given you a whole lot of details. I just realized that. And I think it's kind of cool that you interviewed Kathy just the other day, because she's one of our great partners here at the door. She's,
is that right?
Yeah, she's also on my community engagement team. So,
great.
yeah, and we have a program we do that we take the kids to called Trailblazers. So it's been amazing.
Wow, that is cool.
Well, I can see that God is definitely at work here, Marcy, and it touches my heart. I became a believer from not what I would consider an evangelical Christian background, and it's so lovely. That's what Jesus did, right? He reached out to people, anybody, didn't matter who they were.
Nope.
So keep on doing that.
Yes.
And thank you for talking with us today.
Thanks for joining us at Deeply Rooted today. If God has been speaking to you and you want to connect with someone for prayer, email us at deeplyrooted@myharvestchurch.ca. Be sure to subscribe to this channel to receive notifications when new content is released. And finally, let's stay connected with one another and deeply rooted in Christ.